name's Anthony, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk today about why it is that the markets are crashing today, and of course why they've been crashing over the course of the past month, and to provide a little bit of color on what exactly we can do to get ourselves out of this mess. And let me tell you, it's a mess. The markets today are down nearly 10%. They have been crashing now a total of 25% over the course of the past just month and a half. We are now at levels that are below the point at which Donald Trump took office, so effectively making his entire presidency useless. And so I want to talk about this. I get questions from my friends all the time, especially these past couple days, about what should I be doing? What should I be investing in? Why is this, what is happening? You hear a lot of advice like, oh my God, this is a great opportunity to buy. And then you'll hear just 5 minutes later, oh my God, get out. This is going to get much worse. So let's try to break this down into the component pieces and see if we can make sense of the information that we're receiving. The first place that we have to start is with the virus itself. We caused this crisis. We didn't act fast enough relative to the information that was coming out of China, right? They had been dealing with this since late December, started coming out more publicly with it in January. Now, what we did learn was this virus generally has a 14-day, a 2-week lifespan. Therefore, if you stop all interaction, this thing could have been eliminated within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Here we are already heading into month 3 with total uncertainty about how long this is going to continue. We are too late. China took drastic and immediate measures to shut down their society to try to create that 2-week window, and now they are moving beyond. They are moving ahead of the United States in resolving this and trying to get their country back to normal. If you go down the shutdown path, then you have to do it fast, quickly, and everywhere. Here in the United States, we are instead doing it in some places and not others, and very slowly. We have shut down international travel too late. The virus is already here. Then we're shutting down cities in which the virus is already there. This virus is everywhere. Shutting things down may not exactly have the benefits that we all think it's going to have. One of the problems when we start to take this into financial markets and the economy is that we are shutting down perfectly healthy people from working and participating in the economy. It was clear back in January that the populations that were most at risk of this virus were those with A, pre-existing health conditions, and B, people over the age of 60, often the two populations overlapping. Although we wanted to prevent widespread contagion, less than 1% of the population, let me clarify, 0.003% of the population has been infected with this virus. And 80% of those that are infected return to normal within a week or two, often having mild or no symptoms. What we should have done was immediately isolate those that were at risk, such that the rest of us able-bodied individuals could go about continuing our roles in the economy and society. Having me locked up in my house makes 0 sense. I am perfectly healthy. If I get the virus, there is an at least 80% chance that I will either return to normal within 2 weeks or be perfectly normal the entire time. This makes no sense. So, since we are stuck at home, many of us, let's talk about the economy. We have shut down entire sectors of our economy, instituting work from home programs or outright banning retail or public commerce. We have shut down this economy. This economy is not moving. It is dead, 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 dead. GDP, as we measure the output of an economy, GDP is going to be cut by double digits in Q2 and possibly into Q3. Unemployment is about to spike to 8% to 10%. A recent LA Times survey that was just conducted and announced yesterday said that 18% of working adults have either lost their job or experienced reduced working hours. This is detrimental to an economy and people's livelihoods as a result. The economy only works when people are working and productive. And right now, we have neither occurring. So what does this mean? Markets are so far down some 25%. This can get a lot worse. Get ready. Why do I say that this can get a lot worse? We are only at 2016 levels in the market. We still have to fall another 50% to get to 2008 levels, right? 50%. Now think about 2008 and September 11th for that matter. We had shocks to the financial market, but there was no virus in 2008. There was no biological threat. There was no war. In September 11th, we actually had a war and we shut down parts of Manhattan and we shut down the airlines for days and it hurt the tourism industry. But now we are, by mandate law and emergency power, forcing entire sectors of the economy to operate at zero for extended periods of time. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 4 weeks. It could be 4 months. The industries that are operating at zero: restaurants, airlines, airline manufacturers, hotels, casinos, rideshare and transportation, vacations, tourism. There is zero retail shopping in physical stores. Apple is closed for an undetermined period of time. Department stores, Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom's, closed. The only thing that's open is a grocery store. And even then it's a panic and a limited opportunity. Consumer spending is the heart of the American economy. Americans love to buy things that they don't need, and of course things that they do need. But when consumer spending goes to zero, America goes to zero. We are not talking about recession economics here. We are talking about depression economics. We have not seen that since 1929 to 1930s, into the 1930s. This could get really bad. So let's look at the finances, because the finances of a company are what drive the uncertainty in the stock market. Entire industries are loaded with debt, thanks to a decade of low interest rates by the Federal Reserve, and quite frankly, thanks to Donald Trump. Money has been cheap, and the government has incentivized that cheap borrowing, much of which was used to cut dividend checks and stock buybacks to rich investors. So companies took money from the federal government. They then borrowed even more money from the financial markets at 2-3 minimal interest rates. And they took that cash and gave it to investors, most of which are rich people. Here's the problem. Boeing, airlines, hotels, retail, food, entertainment, energy, oil, gas, and coal have loads of debt. They will not, if revenues don't improve, have enough money to pay the debt payment, and they will go bankruptcy. The industries that I just mentioned represent a good 25% of the economy. You cannot have 25% of the economy declare bankruptcy and think that that isn't going to cause an even greater depression than in the 1920s and 30s. This is what is spooking the markets. There is real risk of trillions, not 1 trillion, trillions of dollars of corporate debt defaulting. That is more in lost value than the 2008 financial crisis and mortgage-backed securities. All of these factors trickle down and they trickle up. Companies cut jobs, consumers have no money, unemployment skyrockets, businesses have no profits, and the spiral downward into the proverbial black hole continues. That's the bad news. What are the cures? There are some very clear steps that we can do to prevent this. Number 1, manage the virus. This means 2 things. Testing millions and millions of people per week. We need to know who has the virus, so we can pluck those individuals out of society for 2 weeks. Number 2, you have to have capacity for health services so that the vulnerable and those who need treatment can be prevented from dying. Number 3, you have to continue to isolate the vulnerable who aren't yet affected. Senior citizens, those with pre-existing health conditions. Stay inside. The number 2 thing that you need to do to manage the virus is a cure. That is going to take time. It will come eventually. It could be 6 months. It could be 18 or 24 months. But that's the only way to eradicate this thing. Number 2, at the cure level, is we need a plan for opening America. You need to open America back up again. We are the world. We are the largest economy in the world. The world relies on us, not the other way around. If we are closed, the world is closed. End of subject. You need, as a government, to communicate a plan for controlling the virus to get America back to work. Very plain and simple. The uncertainty around timelines is crushing financial markets. It is crushing companies' decision-making around hiring and what to do. Until that is fixed, we are a dead fish. Number 3, and this can come at and during the operational period, like it can be done right now, and it can be done as a part of Open America Back Up Again, stimulus. You need federal stimulus. Free checks for all Americans are a must. That is a given. You have to fill the gap in wages and lost revenues. This isn't an option. The 4th thing that you need is financial stimulus and free credit. Companies need to borrow their way through this. That isn't an option either. Ben Bernanke is the world's expert on depression economics, and he will be the first to tell you that if you do not have excess, not adequate, but excess capital and funding and a commitment to cheap money, you cannot stay off of depression. The Treasury and the Federal Reserve need to be turning those printing machines on and getting them pumping as fast as they possibly can. A bit of Keynesian economics and the use of what is called the ISLM model says that you can achieve any economic outcome through a combination of fiscal and economic stimulus. If the Federal Reserve and the federal government coordinate to provide all types of stimulus, we can get through this. But you must get America back to work. Stocks will not go back up until you have 2 things. Certainty. The markets need a plan to open businesses back up. And number 2, the market needs more information. They need more information around employment. What is the unemployment number? What are wages? They need more information about getting this stimulus bill passed. I think people read the headline, oh, stimulus is coming. You still have to get that through both houses of Congress. That was not easy in 2008. If you look at the history of what George Bush had tried to do in the bailout packet, it took time. The vote did not go through at first, and the markets tanked. We will see a similar outcome here in this case. There is no doubt that this bill will be political. And in fact, I encourage it to be political. I want it to be political. I want Nancy Pelosi to hold Donald Trump's cojones throughout this entire process so that the changes that happen as part of this stimulus are real and beneficial to the 99%, not the 1%. And guess what? It's going to happen, and it's going to happen on both sides of the aisle because there is so much at stake and so much leverage to be had. Businesses will not hire until there is certainty. And the next wave of certainty is not going to come until there is more company information or corporate information around revenues and losses. We do not know what the rest of 2020 is going to look like in terms of revenue. We don't even know how much the losses are for just the month of March. And the effect on corporate profits is going to be significantly diminished. So, with that, there's hope. I think the government is taking steps in the right direction, even if we are late. But you need to buckle up because this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Make your investment choices wisely. There are certainly going to be opportunities in the market. There are certainly going to be winners and losers. Think about it. Take your time. Do your homework. Do your research. What does that actually mean? Look at companies' financial statements. Do they have enough free cash on the books today to pay for all of their expenses for the next 2 months, assuming they had no revenues? Look at if they have enough cash on hand to pay their interest payments for the next few months. Look at their leases. Look at what are the variable costs in their operating model, that as business goes down, those costs go down, versus fixed costs that they have to pay no matter what. Those are called highly leveraged business: energy sector, manufacturing, airline industries. Look at the details, make smart decisions. Please stay safe. Please do the best that you possibly can in your work from home program to stay productive and keep America working. Have a great day.